So most of the you guys are using React and styling React components with basic CSS as we use in all simple applications. But do you know if you are using directly CSS file for styling your React components, then it can be a problem for you. Suppose you have imported a CSS file to a component and added some stylings to that. But if some other element from any other component in your project has the same element or same class, then that style will be applied to that element also. Basically, it means that wherever you import your CSS files, your styling will be global for the complete project. But solution for it, you can say we can take care of the classes, like what classes we are defining in our component, but it can become more complex if your project is huge. So what's the solution for that? We should define stylings only for individual components. How we can achieve that? We can apply two approaches here. One is styled components and another one is CSS modules. So in this video, we are gonna talk about styled components and CSS modules. So how you can style your components individually. What's up people, welcome to the new video. And as you know, in this video we are gonna talk about styling React components and how can we style our components using styled components and CSS modules. So first of all, let's initialize our new React application. npm react npx create react app, and I'm creating the app into this current directory. It will take some time. Project is initialized now, and let's start our React project. npm start, and you can see here it is working. Okay, and let's some change inside our app.js component. I'm saying hello, this is tutorial for styled components. So this is working right now. It is saying logo is defined but never used, so remove this import logo here. Let's create some components inside our new project, and let's create first component is maybe intro section, we can say, and another component we can say it is a contact form. Okay, so now we have two components here and we need to render these two components inside our React project. And I'm saying index.jsx, and if I say okay, so this is contact form, return a simple div, and I'm saying this is let's say it should be a form. Okay, so add a form here and an input tag, type text input, and submit button or submit. Okay, now let's export it from here. Export default contact form, and let's import it inside our main app component. Import contact form. Okay, so now if you see here, we have this form here. Okay, so now let's do some stylings for this form. Okay, so now what I need to do is just import a CSS file, import style.css, and do some stylings here. Okay, so let's do some stylings in this form, and let me add some headings. So this is a contact form, and I'm saying h1 should be, you can say background color, it should be aqua or kind of a sour color, and do some stylings to the form. Display flex, justify content center, align item center. Now let's see our app. So it is looking some good, and add some submit in here. Now let's see. Okay, so it is looking cool now. If you see here, let me add some border, 2 pixel solid red. Okay, so now if you see, I have added this border and background styling to this h1 element, but I have added this CSS to this specific component, that is contact form. And let me create another component, that is intro section. Intro section, and use a div here. I'm just saying this is intro section. I'm not specifying any other things here. This is just for intro section. Now import it also. If you see, this is also added, and let me add another form here. Okay, so if I add here also a h1, this is introduction. Okay, and I'm adding a new form here. I'm specifying one input element here, and one is submit button here. Submit. Okay, now you see the stylings is also added to this second introduction component, but I have styled only for this. Okay, so I have imported this CSS sheet only to this. So what if I want to scope my stylings to only one component? So what I can do, I can do style. I can use an approach that is called styled components. So what is styled components now? If we go to the documentation of styled component, let's search on Google, and you see this is a official documentation page of styled components. So styled components is basically a React library you can install using npm or yarn, whatever, and you can use it to specify your styled component. So it is basically like that. So let's install it and let's see what we can do with it. So to install it, we just need to use npm install styled components. It will take some time to install. It's installed now. So styled components is basically here you can see styled components. So how to use styled components? Let's go to our intro section, and inside this let's create a new file. Let's call it wrapper, and I am adding import styled from styled components. Okay, so now to specify a style or specify a new component that will have our stylings using styled components, we need to use this specific syntax. I am adding styled dot. Now after styled dot you can add any HTML element. It supports almost all the HTML elements that you can specify here, like a tag or address or h1 h2 body, any element you want to specify here. So I am specifying here div, and inside these template string literals you can specify your stylings. You can declare here just like this. So I will show you how you can do that, but first export this component wrapper, and now this is a component. Okay, so this is a component that will have some styling that we initialize here. Now we can import this whole component here and we can use it. Import wrapper, and now instead of this specific div I am adding this wrapper. Okay, now how to specify styling. So look at one thing here, inside this div, how to add stylings. So you don't need to add any specific selector here. So it basically means wherever you are importing this specific wrapper or specific component, it will add all the styling that you specify here. If I specify here, okay, border 2 pixel solid red or solid blue, so it will be added to all these components, like whatever child components is inside this wrapper component, that will style will be applied to that. Okay, now if you go to here, you can see if I, okay, so I have not started my server, let's start it again. Now you see here what is happening. You see this blue border has applied to this whole component. So now if I want that my h1 styling should be applied to only this component, this contact form component, so I can create a styled component here. Okay, so let me create a wrapper here and import styled and create a new style wrapper component here. Import this wrapper. Now inside this wrapper we need to add the stylings to this h1 component inside this wrapper component. So how you can do stylings for the child component? You just need to add this and operator, or you can say and % here, and now I can say h1, and whatever I added the stylings here just need to add inside this, and this will work fine. Okay, now I am removing this from here, and now you see what is happening. You see this is a contact form, and this wrapper h1, you can see now this style only applied to this contact form heading, not to this info section heading, right? And okay, so now you know like how you can specify your style components and you can style your style components, right? And what is the second way of doing this same thing, like how you can scope your stylings to the only one component? What is the second way? That is CSS modules. So let's talk about CSS modules. So now let's talk about CSS modules and how you can use CSS modules and what are CSS modules. So for that, let me create a new component here. Okay, so let's say we are creating a new, you can say YouTube component or some kind of section. Okay, so about section, and inside this add a index.jsx file, and I'm saying about. Now just need to export this component and use that component inside our main app.js component. And suppose I need to add a styling here inside this paragraph. You can see this paragraph is rendered here. And so now let's create a file called styled. You can name anything. Okay, so just need to add a css style.module.css instead of .css. Now here we just need to like add some styling the same we add there, and I'm saying paragraph this is a class, and I'm saying background color be aqua or aquamarine, and here border 2 pixels solid red. And so now what you need to do, we need to import something. Okay, something means we need just use styles from style.module.css. this css is a module now, so we are importing something from this css module, and from this styles let's do something class name, and I'm saying styles dot paragraph, because we have a paragraph there. Now here you can see this style is rendered here. Okay, so this is basically the idea behind css modules. So now whatever class or specific selector you are defining here, like background change, let's say in this I am saying background color to background color blue, and so the same you can do that, right? And just need to add a class name here, and class name should be from the css modules background change. Now you see this style is rendered here. So this is the basic idea behind css modules and our style component. So you can use anything, like both approaches are absolutely fine, and even the normal css files you can also use, like, but if only you need to apply those styles to the your whole project using a globally styling, right? But you can also use style components and css modules and whatever you like to use. And so according to a good practice, I think this should be a very good approach, like using css modules, because in this you don't need to import any specific library like styled components, but you can also use styled components if you want. So that's all for the today's video, and please hit the like button if you like this video,